When I began my weight loss journey in 2022, I was coming out of a 3-year health spiral that took me from this to this. And this version was constantly sick, exhausted, and couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get the weight off, especially since the scale just kept going up no matter what I tried. When I lowered carbs, my scale replied with 5 pounds. When I fasted longer, my scale shot up 5 more. So then I added cardio, but my scale turned to me and said, hey, all you did was stress your body out even more, so here's another 5. And I just couldn't seem to reason with my scale. At least not until I added a few morning habits that finally made weight loss easy. Well, easier. Because anyone who tells you weight loss after 40 is easy is a big fat liar, pants on fire. But when you set your day up for success with the right morning habits, that's when weight loss finally gets easier. But before my weight loss plan got easier, I had a few things holding me back. The first problem I had to tackle to regain my health was my sleep, or lack thereof. Back then, I was exhausted most days. Even though I could fall asleep easily, if something woke me up, it took me hours to fall back asleep. And many nights, nothing woke me up. I'd just wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. for no good reason. And I couldn't fall back asleep no matter how hard I tried. The lack of sleep caused so many problems that led to weight gain. Being exhausted all day, I didn't make the best choices. And it seemed like I was always hungry no matter how much I ate. Plus, I was snappy, crabby, and sleepy. I found myself easily snapping at my kids, grunting whenever my husband entered the room, and I'd fall asleep in the middle of the day, even when I had tons to do. But then one day, I was listening to my favorite comedy podcast, and Adam was talking to a health expert that I'd never even heard of. But since I devour everything related to health, I paid attention. His guest was Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he discussed the very thing that I was struggling with, my desperate need for more sleep. The tip he offered was to stare at the sun each morning. He claimed this practice helps with better sleep since it spikes cortisol at the right time of day, which in turn sets your circadian rhythm up for a good night's sleep. Plus, morning sunlight viewing came with a few other much needed benefits like reduced appetite and fewer cravings. Even though it sounded too simple to be true, my sleep sucked. So I gave it a go. And this one small change kicked off a series of events that changed my life. With my new routine of early sunlight viewing for 5 minutes every morning, my sleep improved by leaps and bounds, which gave me the energy to leap and bound the next day. Okay, so I wasn't actually leaping and bounding, but I did start a new routine of getting my workout done first thing. And that brings us to the second morning habit that makes weight loss easy. And that's accomplishing your biggest task first. While my biggest weight loss task is getting my workout out of the way, that might not be the same habit that sets you up for success. But since the hardest part of weight loss at the time was finding the energy to work out, getting it done first thing became my #1 priority. Instead of spending the day on my couch deciding between another Housewives rerun or a quick nap, starting the day with an early workout gave me the energy to get more accomplished throughout the day. Prior to this routine, my life resembled the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, because while I'd tell myself that I'd get my workout done as soon as my kids were in school, well, first I had to start the laundry, and while loading the clothes I noticed a pile of toys. Then, in the middle of picking up Legos, I realized the garbage had to go out, and oh shoot, it's recycling today, so I better get that done too. But then I'd remind myself to focus because I had to get my workout done. But after all of that housework, I was hungry, so I better eat first. But then I was sleepy, and a quick nap is always great for energy, right? And so on and so forth until it was dinner time and I never made it to the gym. But once working out became my #1 priority and I got to it first thing, well, it always got done. Guess what else always got done? The laundry and picking up the toys. The garbage still goes out and so does recycling. Okay, let's be real for a minute. When you have 2 kids and a husband, the laundry is never done. The recycling and garbage just got handed off to the kids. But either way, once I began tackling my biggest priority first thing, everything else fell into place, as it should. Well, maybe not everything, because while I finally had energy to move more, my body didn't agree. Sure, I was hitting the gym more, and I was taking advantage of my neighborhood walking trail so often that a neighbor I'd never met before called me the neighborhood walking lady when we stopped by our house last Halloween. But just as everything seemed to be falling into place with my move more, eat less journey, my body started falling apart. First came the foot pain, but it was only my left foot, so I could keep walking, right? And then there was my stiff neck, plus my all too familiar upper back pain that seemed to follow me everywhere since the days of carrying around two 40-pound toddlers on my hip. And before I knew it, there was a sharp pain in my shoulder that just came out of nowhere. But since I was finally inching closer towards my goal, I couldn't just stop everything that was getting me there. At the same time, the more I put my body through, the more my body revolted. And that's when I got serious about adding a strategic stretching routine to my morning routine. This was kind of a big deal because even though stretching routines helped here and there with back pain in the past, the relief never really lasted that long. That's mostly because my stretching routines never lasted that long. I was always the girl who skipped stretching warm-ups in favor of extra cardio because I wanted to squeeze out the most calorie burn as possible. And back then, I never really understood the true value of stretching. But over the years, my body took a beating with all of today's modern conveniences. And once I hit 40, everything just became creaky and achy for no good reason. But once I began my day with a few stretching and mobility exercises, my entire day improved. Well, everything improved except this one other problem that I noticed while out on a walk. Even though many of my new morning habits helped me feel the healthiest I'd been in several years, my fingers felt stiff and looked kind of pudgy. Like puffy enough to where I couldn't slide on my wedding ring. And even though my weight was coming down, the finger puff was real. I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as that time I flew across the country to Hawaii while 7 months pregnant, but it was still noticeable. So here I was doing everything right. I was sleeping better, lifting consistently, even getting more steps in, but my body was showing signs of poor health. What gives? I soon learned that even though I was hydrating with water, once I quit keto, I also quit supplementing with electrolytes. After all, now that I was eating carbs, there was no need for another supplement, right? Except wrong. Even though I no longer experienced the extreme low electrolyte symptoms associated with a low-carb diet, I was still eating mostly real foods. And when you shift away from heavily processed foods to a diet made up of mostly whole foods, you're still getting rid of a lot of the excess sodium that's added to processed foods. Plus, it's just a good idea to add electrolytes to your water before, during, and even after your workout because that's going to help with increased energy. An even bigger plus, adding electrolytes to my water each morning helped my fingers shrink back down to a normal size. The final weight loss habit I added to my routine to make weight loss easier was having a protein shake for breakfast each morning. After spending half of a decade fasting through breakfast, my body had enough. At first, I was afraid that if I ate breakfast too early, that I'd just be hungrier throughout the day, which would lead to overeating. I soon learned that the opposite was true. On the mornings that I had a protein shake first thing, I had so much more energy during my workout. And since more energy means a better workout, this helps me build more muscle. So in turn, I was actually boosting my metabolism whenever I added a nutrient-dense shake in the morning. And even after an amazing workout, I'm still not hungry for at least another hour or two after my workout. Since I had tons of nutrients to my shake, like creatine for improved muscle building, focus, and energy, green bananas for probiotics, MCT oil for energy, and chia seeds to help with both hunger and migraines, my daily protein shake is much more than a way to get more protein. Now, if you already eat a high-protein breakfast made up of whole foods, I'm definitely not recommending that you swap it out for a protein shake. And that's because it's always better to get as much protein from real food as possible. But if you're someone like me who's fasted through breakfast for years, or you're just not all that hungry in the morning, starting off with a nutrient-dense shake makes it easier to hit your protein target throughout the day. That way you're not spending the entire day trying to catch up on protein. And even though these 5 morning habits are a great way to set your day up for success, there's still one habit change I made that tops them all. In fact, making this one shift all but guarantees that I won't regain any of the weight I worked so hard to lose. And you can learn how to guarantee your success like I did in this video.